You ever notice how, before something big happens in your life, there's this strange stillness, like the air feels different, the conversations around you feel off, and your mind keeps circling back to the same thought, almost like it's trying to remind you of something you forgot a long time ago. That's not a coincidence. That's the signal before the shift. The universe doesn't shout, it whispers. And if you're too busy, too distracted, too consumed with noise, you'll miss it. That's why not everyone sees it. Only the chosen do. This isn't some fairy tale idea. It's not about fate or luck. It's about alignment. You don't get chosen because you've been perfect. You get chosen because deep down, you've been paying attention. Maybe not always consciously, but something in you has been watching, listening, waiting. You've been sensing that something is coming. And you're right. Most people need to be pushed to change. They need to lose something, suffer something, break in some way before they wake up. But you felt it before the storm hit. That's the difference. That's what makes you part of this. There's a message that doesn't reach everybody. It's coded into the discomfort you've been feeling lately. That restlessness, that urgency, that frustration with things you used to tolerate. That's the signal. You don't need to see fireworks in the sky. You don't need an angel to descend from the clouds. Sometimes the greatest revelations come wrapped in silence. Sometimes the only sign you get is a quiet voice in your chest that says, "This isn't it. You were meant for more." And if you're honest with yourself, you've heard that voice. It's been growing louder, especially now, especially before the end of this month. And there's a reason for that, because windows don't stay open forever. The current that's flowing through your life right now, this energy, this awareness, this intensity, it's not random. It's seasonal. It has an expiration date. It's here to wake you up before the next version of your life begins. But if you keep brushing it off, telling yourself you'll deal with it later, you'll miss the shift. You'll sleep through the moment that was meant to ignite everything. The chosen are not the ones who had the easiest path. They're the ones who didn't numb out when life got quiet. When others reached for distraction, they stayed with the discomfort. They asked why. They looked inward. They followed that uneasiness back to its source. And because of that, they saw what others couldn't. Right now, we're standing at a crossroads. The world is changing fast. Systems are collapsing. Beliefs are being questioned. Identities are being dismantled. And people are searching. Not for information. There's already too much of that. They're searching for clarity, for truth, for peace, for meaning. But only those who heard the signal early will know which way to go when the noise reaches its peak. Only those who've been quietly preparing will move forward while the rest hesitate. That's why this matters. That's why you're hearing this now. This isn't just about some deadline. It's not about fear. It's about precision, timing, alignment. Before the end of this month, you're being asked to stop ignoring what you know. You're being reminded, not taught, but reminded of who you are, of what you've always carried, of what's always been pulling you forward, even when you didn't understand it. So many people live their lives reacting, drifting, waiting for life to happen to them. But the chosen, they move before they're forced to. They see the signs before they're visible. They act before the world catches on. And that's what this is. This moment, this message, this shift, it's not for the masses. It's for those who've been listening in the silence. Because when change finally arrives, it's going to look like chaos to everyone else, but not to you. You'll recognize it. You'll know this was the signal you were feeling all along. And while the world scrambles, you'll be steady. Not because you had all the answers, but because you were already awake. You saw it. You felt it. You answered the call before the clock ran out. And now you move. People always say, time's running out, like it's this external force that's chasing them. But the truth is, time isn't running out. You are. Your energy, your chances, your windows of alignment, That's what's actually slipping. And unless you see that clearly, you'll keep treating these moments like they're optional, like they'll always be there. They won't, especially not this one. Right now, we're in a pocket of time that won't come back. You can feel it. That sense that something needs to shift, that there's an invisible pressure building around you. It's not panic, but it's also not peace. It's urgency, a message in the background saying, move now, step now, decide now. And most people ignore it. They tell themselves they'll do it later. They'll wait for more clarity, more certainty, more signs. But what they don't realize is, the moment is the sign. The feeling is the signal. You don't get more time to prepare when what's really needed is the courage to start. See, people keep looking for the perfect moment. They wait for the stars to align, for life to calm down, for all the noise to stop before they finally act. But the ones who change their lives, the chosen, they understand that perfection is the enemy of progress. They don't wait for things to be easy. They move because they know what's at stake. They know the door doesn't stay open forever, and that's what makes this window so different. This isn't a normal transition. This isn't just another phase of life. Something about this season, especially as it closes in on the end of this month, is asking you to make a decision. Not just a mental one, but a full-body decision. A decision that says, I'm done pretending I don't know who I am. I'm done waiting for someone to give me permission. I'm done shrinking. You have no idea how many people live their entire lives waiting for a sign, waiting for someone to see them, waiting to feel ready. But the chosen, they realize something simple but profound. Readiness doesn't come before the leap. It comes because of the leap. You think you're waiting on the universe. No, the universe is waiting on you. This message you're hearing, this shift you've been feeling, it's not happening by chance, and the timing, it's no accident either. Some of you have been circling the same decision for months, maybe years. You've been dancing around the edge of change, dipping your toe in, convincing yourself you're moving when really, you've been standing still. And now the moment is here, staring you down, asking you to stop hesitating. Because here's the truth, life moves with or without you. Energy doesn't sit in neutral. It flows toward the ones who act, who align, who choose. You've been given insight. You've been shown things. Maybe not in full detail, but enough to know what doesn't belong anymore. Enough to know what's been calling you. And yet, so many keep playing small, not because they're not capable, but because they still think they have time. Let me tell you something. The biggest lie you'll ever believe is, I'll do it later. Later is where dreams go to die. Later is a graveyard. If something inside you is whispering now, if something in your spirit is feeling the fire of this moment, then that's not random. That's alignment. And alignment has a shelf life. You don't rise by accident. You rise by decision. The kind of decision that doesn't care how scared you are. The kind that doesn't ask for approval. The kind that breaks your old identity just to reveal your real one. But if you delay it, if you keep postponing it, eventually, it passes you by. Not because you weren't good enough, but because you weren't awake enough to answer the call when it came. That's why this moment matters. That's why the urgency is building. Because before this month ends, there's a gate closing. A gate that opens only for those who choose. Not later, not eventually, but now. So ask yourself one thing. Will you still be standing at the edge, waiting for perfect timing when the moment passes you by? Or will you be the one who stepped through before it closed? Everybody wants access. Everybody wants clarity. Everyone wants to know what their purpose is, what their next move should be, what they're really here for. But very few understand what unlocks it. What gives you access isn't just knowledge or hustle or talent. The password is pain. You see, people think pain is just some unfortunate part of life. Something to survive, something to escape from or avoid. But those who are chosen, those who see what others can't, have gone through something different. They didn't just feel pain. They listened to it. They let it teach them. They let it strip away the false, the shallow, the unnecessary. And because of that, they gained sight most people will never have. Pain isn't just an interruption. It's initiation. It doesn't come to break you. It comes to shape you. To show you what's real when everything else is stripped away. Think about your hardest moments. The ones that left you breathless. The nights you couldn't sleep. The betrayals. The losses. The questions with no answers. That wasn't punishment. That was preparation. You don't get to see clearly until life has made you feel deeply. You don't get to access truth until your illusions have been burned. And pain, raw, unfiltered pain, is what burns through everything that was never really you. That's why only the chosen see the signal before the shift. Because they've been through something. They've walked through fire and came out with vision. And let me be clear, this isn't about romanticizing suffering. No one wants pain. But some of you need to stop resenting what shaped you, because what you thought was breaking you was actually building something underneath the surface that can't be taught in books or unlocked in comfort. You didn't lose your way. You were being rerouted. You weren't being punished. You were being trusted with a depth most people won't even touch. Pain pulls you out of autopilot. It wakes you up from the dream. It reminds you that you are not here to coast. You are not here to just exist. You are here to become. And becoming, that costs something. There's a price for transformation, and pain is often the currency. You don't get clarity without chaos first. You don't get alignment without disruption. Before you awaken, you get wrecked. That's the process. That's the pattern. And if you've been going through it lately, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, it's not because you're lost. It's because you're closer than ever. This is why timing matters. This is why this moment isn't just another month on the calendar. Because what's happening before 31st and July isn't just symbolic, it's spiritual. A gate is open. And the only ones who will walk through it are the ones who've earned their way here through pain, reflection, and raw honesty. The ones who didn't collapse when it got heavy. The ones who stayed when it would have been easier to run. The ones who didn't numb it, avoid it, or blame others, but faced it and learned from it. So many people are looking for answers outside of themselves. They're chasing temporary highs, scrolling endlessly, distracting themselves from what hurts. But the ones who are chosen, those who see before the shift, they turned inward. They sat in the silence. They faced the ache. They asked themselves the hard questions. And because of that, they unlocked a different kind of strength, a different kind of sight. So when people ask, why me? Why did I have to go through that? Why did life take that from me? The answer isn't that you were cursed. It's that you were being trusted. You were being prepared to carry something real, something powerful, something most people can't hold. You were given pain not to suffer, but to see. And now here you are, standing at the edge of something new. All the things that tried to break you didn't win. All the nights you thought you were alone, you weren't. The pain you carried was never pointless. It was sacred. It was setting you up for this exact moment. This isn't your ending. This is your unlocking. People keep saying the world is ending, that everything is falling apart, that things are getting worse. But the truth is, the world isn't ending. Your illusions are. And for most people, that feels the same. Because when the stories you've built your life on start to crumble, when the beliefs you've depended on stop working, when your identity starts slipping through your fingers, it feels like collapse. But what's really happening is clarity. And only the chosen can see that difference. You've probably felt it. Like things don't make sense the way they used to. What used to motivate you doesn't anymore. The roles you've been playing feel hollow. The opinions that once mattered to you, now they just feel like noise. You're not broken. You're waking up. And that's not easy. That's not comfortable. In fact, it's terrifying. Because the moment you stop believing in the old version of yourself, there's this free fall, this silence, this space between the stories. And most people can't handle that. So they cling to what's familiar, even if it's destroying them. The noise is everywhere. People shouting at each other, arguing over things that don't matter, addicted to drama, lost in distraction. But underneath all that, under the chaos, under the confusion, something quieter is happening, something more powerful, something that can't be captured in headlines or measured in likes. And only a few can feel it. That pull, that shift, that invitation to something deeper, something real. This is why things feel like they're speeding up. Why so many people are anxious, restless, frustrated. Because the illusions are losing their grip, the masks are falling off, and what's left is the truth. And for most people, truth is too heavy, too raw. But for the chosen, for those who've already been through the fire, it's a relief, it's freedom. It's like finally exhaling after holding your breath for years. What's falling away isn't your life. It's everything that was keeping you small. Everything that kept you performing instead of living. Pleasing instead of being. Hiding instead of showing up fully. And yeah, it's uncomfortable. But it's necessary. Because nothing real is built on illusion. You can't construct a future on foundations that were never true to begin with. So if you're feeling like things are crumbling, like the ground beneath you is shifting, good. That means something real is about to emerge. That means your foundation is being rebuilt, not around fear or pretending, but around truth, around alignment, around what actually matters. And yes, it costs something. You'll lose people. You'll lose versions of yourself. But what you gain, clarity, purpose, presence, that's priceless. There's a reason this moment is happening now. There's a reason you're hearing this before the end of the month, because something is asking you to stop holding on to what was never really yours. The roles, the labels, the expectations, they were all borrowed, inherited, given to you by a world that benefits from you staying small and distracted. But something inside you is done playing that game. You've outgrown the costume. You've outgrown the illusion. And now the real you is ready to emerge. This doesn't mean the journey is easy. It means it's worth it. It means you're ready. It means you're done living in denial, done numbing out, done pretending not to see. Because once you see, once you really see, you can't unsee it. You can't go back. You can't return to sleep. And honestly, that's the gift. That's what separates the ones who rise from the ones who run. Not talent, not luck, just the willingness to face what's real, even when it hurts, even when it costs you comfort. Because deep down, you know comfort was never the goal. Growth was, truth was, becoming was. So no, the world isn't ending. The noise might get louder. The chaos might keep spinning. But that's not your job. Your job is to see through it. To remember who you are in the middle of it. To walk steady while everyone else stumbles. Because this isn't collapse. This is awakening. It's easy to feel like something's wrong with you when you find yourself alone, when your phone goes silent, when the invitations stop, when people don't check in like they used to. The world teaches us that being isolated means you're off track, that silence means failure, that separation means rejection. But I'll tell you something most people never realize until much later. Isolation is not rejection. It's initiation. And if you're in that space right now, it's not because you're being left behind. It's because you're being set apart. See, the path of the chosen is never crowded. It's not loud. It's not filled with applause or constant support. It's a path walked in solitude. Not because you're not loved, but because the next version of you can't be built in public. There are stages in your growth where being seen too soon would sabotage the process. So life puts you in a season of silence, not to punish you, but to prepare you. And in that silence, everything that was keeping you distracted starts to fall away. You hear your own thoughts more clearly. You confront things you've been avoiding. You start to see the difference between people who were aligned with your growth and people who were attached to your comfort. That kind of clarity doesn't come when you're surrounded by noise. It only comes in solitude. Most people run from that. The moment life gets quiet, they rush to fill it. With entertainment, with people, with anything that stops them from feeling what's underneath. But the chosen stay. They sit with the silence. They face the stillness. And that's where the shift begins. That's where strength is built. Not the kind that's visible, but the kind that can't be shaken. If you felt disconnected lately, from others, from your old habits, from your former identity, don't panic. That's not a sign you're lost. It's a sign that you're no longer a match for who you used to be. And as painful as that can feel, that disconnection is sacred. It's a clearing, a reset, a space being carved out for something greater. But here's the truth. Not everyone is meant to come with you. Some people were only assigned to the old version of you. The one who played small, who doubted themselves, who kept quiet to be accepted. And when that version starts to fall away, so do the connections that depended on it. That's not failure. That's alignment doing its job. It hurts, I know. Growth always comes with grief. But you can't become who you're meant to be while dragging around what you've outgrown. The cocoon doesn't open in front of an audience. It splits in silence. It breaks in the dark. Transformation begins where distractions end. And that place, for most of us, is isolation. And it's not just emotional. Even energetically, when you're being prepared for something higher, your access gets restricted. Conversations dry up. Opportunities pause. You're not being punished. You're being protected. Protected from things that would interfere with the work being done in you. Because what's being built now isn't surface level, it's foundational. You have to be alone long enough to hear your own voice again. Long enough to recognize your own intuition. Long enough to stop confusing other people's opinions with your inner truth. And once you reconnect with that truth, once you know who you are without needing anyone to confirm it, then the next door opens. Then the right people show up. Then alignment starts moving again. That's the paradox. Isolation feels like a pause, but it's really acceleration. It's the space where old identities dissolve and new realities begin. It's not meant to be permanent. It's a threshold, a rite of passage, a moment of choosing. And some of you are in that exact moment right now. The noise has faded. The people have pulled back. The world around you is still, and it feels like nothing's happening. But in truth, everything is happening, quietly, precisely, powerfully. So don't rush out of it. Don't reach for what you've already outgrown. Don't confuse absence with abandonment. You are not being left behind. You are being pulled ahead, quietly, deliberately, because what's waiting for you requires a version of you that can only be forged in silence. Sometimes, the silence is not empty. It's full of answers. Some people will hear a message like this and think, why me? As if they stumbled onto it by accident. As if something this direct, this specific, just happened to land in front of them randomly. But there are no accidents when it comes to alignment. You didn't get chosen by luck. You were built for this, quietly, over years, through experiences you didn't ask for but somehow survived, through lessons you didn't want but now carry like armor. You weren't just selected, you were shaped. Every setback, every heartbreak, every moment that made you question everything, all of it was construction. And not the kind people see, not the obvious kind. This wasn't flashy, it wasn't loud. It was subtle, personal, and often painful. But it built something in you that can't be faked. Readiness. Readiness doesn't come from titles or achievements. It doesn't come from how good your life looks from the outside. It comes from the inside, from that quiet decision you made, again and again, to keep going when quitting would have been easier. That's what being chosen looks like. Not applause, not recognition, but that quiet, lonely climb that no one else saw. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The nights you doubted everything. The mornings you had to convince yourself to keep showing up. The chapters of your life that didn't make sense when you were in them. But looking back now, You see how they carved something deep into you. That was the work. That was the preparation. And now here you are, right before the end of a chapter, right before the end of this month, feeling that pull again, that tension, that sense that something is waiting for you. Something different, something bigger. But only if you're willing to answer it. And that feeling you're carrying, it's not anxiety. It's not confusion. It's recognition. It's your future remembering you, calling you. You've been prepared for this. You didn't just arrive at this moment. You were delivered here, shaped by every step you've taken, even the ones you thought were detours, even the ones you regret, especially those. Because the chosen don't rise from perfect pasts. They rise from broken beginnings, from moments where no one clapped, no one helped, no one understood. But they rose anyway. So now the question is not whether you're worthy. That's already been answered. It's not whether you're ready. You've been getting ready without even realizing it. The real question is, will you choose to move? Will you step into what's already yours? Will you stop hesitating, stop second guessing, and finally claim what you've quietly been building toward all along? It's easy to feel like you need more time, like maybe you should wait just a little longer. But time is not what you need. Permission is not what you need. You've already done the hard part. You've already lived through the lessons. Now it's about recognizing that the moment you're in is the moment you were built for. The alignment won't always look like ease. Sometimes it looks like pressure, like resistance, like a final test to make sure you really believe in what you say you want. But that pressure is only showing up because you're right on time. And while the rest of the world might not see it, you feel it. You know something's shifting. You can sense the invitation in the atmosphere. You weren't given this moment by chance. This message found you for a reason. Because deep down, something in you has been whispering, it's time. And now the outer world is confirming it. You didn't need to be louder. You needed to listen. You didn't need to get ready. You needed to remember. You didn't need more signs. You were the sign. Everything you've walked through wasn't just to survive. It was to prepare you to lead, to show, to step forward when others freeze, to move when others wait. Not because you're better, but because you're ready. And now it's your turn.